Hello everyone, I'm Terry Hartley at Rustic Barn Cards. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. I'm so glad you're here. Today I have a fun and quick, easy card using hand-pinned stamp set and some designer series paper, a few Stampin' Blends, and of course a little bling and some ribbon. So I'm going to turn the camera down and we're going to start stamping. But first I wanted to tell you that Stampin' Up! They're offering on July 1st a savings of 15% on select designer series paper. So from July 1st through August 2nd, you can save 15% on select designer series paper from the annual catalog. And July 1st is right around the corner. So let me turn the camera down and let's start stamping. So as I said, we're going to be using the hand pin Petals stamp set. I'm going to be using this image and the sentiment thanks. But I wanted to bring in the annual catalog because I wanted to tell you that you need to think of the annual catalog as a resource book, because it is full of ideas. And that is where the idea for the card I'm going to make today came from. So on page 112 in our annual catalog, this card right here, and they're using a different stamp set than what I'm going to use. But I started with this, looking at this card, and it gave me an idea. So it's going to be similar to this card, but using a different stamp set. And let's go ahead and make it. So again, remember, for inspiration, turn to your annual catalog. They have lots, there's a lot of cards in there, a lot of projects, and use those ideas that are in there. So I'm going to bring in our card base, and it is Pool Party. And all of the dimensions and the directions will be on my blog at www.rusticbarncards.com. And I have already added a layer of basic white inside. So I'm going to lay that aside right now. And I'm going to bring in some basic white. And we're going to do some stamping. And I'm going to be using Memento Tuxedo Black. And our image, our flower. And then I'm just going to go ahead and ink the stamp up this way. Now you could lay the stamp down and take your stamp and ink it up this way. So either one works fine. But I am going to bring in my Stampin' Pierce mat because I am using photopolymer stamp set. And it needs a little bit of cushion to give you a nice crisp image. And I definitely want that. So I'm going to place this a little bit more towards the top. And straight down. And press. And straight up. And then I'm going to lay this aside, and I'm going to bring in the basic white for our sentiment and bring in our thanks. And since it's a little smaller stamp, it's easier to ink it up that way. I'm going to try to stamp this in the middle. And I don't like that, so we're going to turn it over on the back. It was a little blurry. So I think we will just cut another one. Okay, I grabbed another, and let's try this again. Third time's a charm, right? Make sure it's straight. And perfect. Clean the stamps. Put the lid back on the Memento Black because we don't need any more of that. Move my Stampin' Pierce mat and bring this back in. and we're going to do a little bit of coloring with Stampin' Blends. So I have two colors. I have Pool Party and I have Mossy Meadow. And I will start, but I do have one already finished. So I'm going to start with the dark Pool Party. And I'll see if I can bring it in a little bit closer. So I'm just going to shade in on the side of the flowers with my dark to kind of give it a little bit of like there's a little bit of shading, and then bring in our Pool Party light. And then I'm going to go right over the dark and blend that in. And then every time you add a layer of color, it'll make it a little bit darker. And I could add some, make the flowers a little bit darker at the bottom. And then bring in the light and blend that together. So you kind of get the idea. Now with the Mossy Meadow, I'm going to again start with the dark. And if you see that there's markings on the leaves, I'm just going to go ahead and just trace right over those. And then I'll bring in the light. Mossy Meadow, and I'll go ahead and color in the leaves. And it's okay to turn. I think it's easier for me to, with this little point right there, to kind of turn my basic white cardstocks so I can color that flower a little bit easier. And then you just go ahead and color the stems. So let me go ahead and lay the blends aside. Again, Mossy Meadow and Pool Party. So I'll lay this aside and I'll bring in the one that I finished, that we're going to use on our card. I'm going to bring our card base back in. And I'm going to bring in the Designer Series paper that goes with the hand pen Petals. It's a suite. And this is the opposite side. So our Designer Series paper always is printed on both sides, and sometimes it's hard to decide which side you want to use. So I'm going to go ahead and add some liquid glue, and we will adhere this to the front of our card. And I'm going to add this over on the right-hand side, and I'm going to try to place it so I have about the same amount of Pool Party cardstock on the card base showing at the top, on the side, and on the bottom. And now I'm going to add our Whisper White. And I'm going to place this over on the left, but I want to have some Designer Series paper showing on the right-hand side, as well as at the top. I want to make sure that I have this straight, which is why I like the liquid glue. You have a little bit of a chance to move it a little bit if you need to. This dries out really quick, so I'm going to put the lid back on that. And then I'm going to bring in this beautiful gold shimmer ribbon. If you haven't noticed this in the annual catalog, you need to take a look at it. It is just gorgeous. And I'm going to, I've cut off about 5.5, 6 inches of ribbon. And I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to add a glue dot in the middle of the ribbon. So I'm going to kind of fold it in half. It doesn't have to be exact, but So about in the middle. And I'm going to put a glue dot right there in the middle. And then I'm going to take one end and I'm going to just place it on that glue dot. So I've made like a loop. And then I'm going to add another glue dot on top of that. I need to tear off this paper. So I'm going to add another. This time, though, I want to take this end and go clear at the top. So I want to bring this end to the top. And then I'm going to lay this right here. And I need one more glue dot because we want to put it down with a glue dot. Then we're going to bring in our sentiment thanks. We're going to add 3 dimensionals. One in each end, one in the middle. And stay with me because I have 2 other cards to share with you. And then I am going to add thanks right here. And then I'm going to bring in some bling, some gilded gems. And these are in 3 sizes. You have the small, medium, and large. You might take your pick tool. And I use the medium on the other card, so I think I will use the smaller ones on this card. Now you can use this tip like I'm doing, or you can also take the top off and use your putty to pick up your embellishments. And then I'm going to put that, I'm going to put that one right there. So here is our card, really quick and easy to make, but I think it's really beautiful. Thanks. And this is with Pool Party card base. Let me bring in the other 2 cards that I've made. This one is using Daffodil Delight card base and Daffodil Delight, and I did use Oud Olive for the leaves on this card. But again, the gold shimmer ribbon, I used the medium gems on this card, but the same designer series paper. Then I have one more card to show you. And this is using Highland Heather. And again, an Oud Olive. And the same, the same layout, just different colors. So I've used the same layout on all 3 of these cards. Do you like the Pool Party the best, Daffodil Delight, or the Highland Heather? I'd love for you to leave me a comment and let me know. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this video. I'd love for you to subscribe. I really appreciate you watching. I'm Terry Hartley at Rustic Barn Cards, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. Have a great week.